For step 4, we will be recording in Adobe Audition. So for this video, we'll be recording an introduction to the podcast. And the first thing you want to make sure of is that you're in a quiet environment so that there's not a lot of background noise when you're recording. Once you've gotten yourself to a quiet environment, you'll want to go on a track that you want to record on. Make sure that it's not one that you already have an audio file on. So for example, I wouldn't want to record on this track because the interview is on this track. So I'm going to this one that's labeled host, but I'm going to rename it introduction. And then once it's renamed, I'm going to go and check the input and output settings, which are these little arrows right here. If you can't see them, it may be because you're in one of these boxes instead, but you want to make sure that the box with the arrows is highlighted in blue. And then this arrow pointing to the right is the input, and that's where your audio will be recording from. So I want my input to be the microphone that I'm using. So for me, it's already on the microphone, but you don't need a microphone to record. You can use your computer's microphone if you don't have an external mic. And then for your output, that's where you're going to be listening to the audio from. So for me, I'm going to keep it as master because those are my headphones, but these are all the other options. So I'm going to keep it as master. And then you're going to want to make sure that you can't hear the other tracks when you're recording, because right now if I play it,
I was taking a lot of Chicano classes.
you can hear the interview, and I don't want to be able to hear it when I'm recording. So I'm going to go ahead and mute the interview. And to do that, I'll hit this M right here, and the M is the mute button. So now when I play it, I can't hear it. But say you had multiple audio tracks and you don't want to go through each one to mute it, you could just go on the track that you're recording on. So for me, it's introduction, and hit the S. And the S is for solo. So then when you play it, it has the same effect as the mute button, but this one is just more convenient when you have more than one track that you wanted to mute. So then I'll go ahead and hit the R. The R is for record. So once you hit it, it'll turn red and you'll see this little bar here that is your volume bar. So you can see when I'm speaking, the bar keeps moving up and down. You want to try to stay in the yellow part, and if I stop speaking, you'll see that it goes away. So yeah. And then to start recording, you'll go ahead and hit this red dot that's at the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and start my recording. And to stop it, you hit the red button as well. Welcome to the Ethnic Studies podcast. Today we'll be exploring the Ethnic Studies major from a student perspective by speaking with a fellow classmate. Okay, so to stop it, I just hit this button again, and see the line is still moving, because if I wanted to keep recording, I could just hit the red button and it starts recording again. And I can do the same over here. So it's not a big deal if you mess up. You can just delete the parts that you don't want to keep. You can also trim it, cut it, do the same thing that you did when you were editing your interview. And you can move this around so that you can record on different parts. Say I wanted to record right here. Hello. And then yeah, you could just record wherever you'd like to on that track. And then you would want to unmute your interview to see how it would sound. But right now when you unmute it, so undo the solo, you would hear both of these tracks playing at the same time. Perspective by speaking with a fellow classmate. So to change that, you can move your interview. So say I want to move my interview to play after my introduction. I would highlight all of the parts of the interview and then drag it right over here. So then when it plays, they don't play at the same time, which is what I want. So I'm just going to leave this like this because I did have an introduction that I recorded already, which you will probably hear for the next steps. But this is just to show how you would record in Adobe Audition. So I wouldn't have to record in Audition if I didn't want to. So for example, if I already had my introduction pre-recorded, I could just import that file into Audition. But if you did want to record directly here on Audition, this is how you would do it.